Today, we're doing a free demo reading. And so we have a 6-2 unemotional splenic adrenal manifesting generator. And so something that I'd like to go into today is this concept of the personality magic square. And so basically this gives, when we're looking at the chart here, it's these 9 planetary placements. This is something I'm really going to go into. But first, looking at the personality side, this is what I'll be focusing on. We have the sun and the earth. The sun and the earth represent the inner character, the being, the nature of the human. And so here we have the 9.6 and the 16.6. And so the 9 brings a grounding force to the life that is grounded in by a focus, attention that can concentrate in upon details. You see this 9 is down here between the sacral center and connecting to the root center. And so there's a defined format energy of concentration here. So no matter what this being is doing, they have the capacity to concentrate on something. And the 16, this is the shining sun of that personality. This is the gate of enthusiasm. This is the gate of identification with things. And so this is also part of a channel, the 1648, the single definition structure here with 1, 2, 3, 4 channels connecting sacral to root to spleen, and from spleen to both the ego and the throat. And so we can see that within this person, their inner character is the capacity to focus in on details, as well as the capacity to enthusiastically try things on. Let's try it out, see if it works. And that represents the inner character. Now, what world is this person within? Well, just looking at the personality here, we're looking at a world of people that include the 18 and the 17. So these are both logical, collective gates. They have to do with making sense out of things in a logical pattern that we can carry forward into the future. And so surrounding themselves with people who are in alignment with, say, having their own logical opinions about things and in having their own ability to point out and to correct things, to try and make a difference with things and be like, oh, this could be fixed, this could be corrected. Having people in their life that have these opinions and have this capacity to correct things, this will be natural for them because it has to do with how their personality connects to the outer world. And now here, looking at the personality magic resonance square, this is the point of interest to me because first off, we have the inner character and the being in the sun and earth. We have the environment that character is within, the nodes of the moon. And then the moon also opens up this resonance square, this square of potentials and this square of essentially alignment for the personality. And so we can see that the opening into the square comes from gate 33 in the moon. This is called the focus of the personality. This is what focuses us into this entire range of possibilities. And so this is the gate of retreat in the second, or rather in the 5th line. And so we have active withdrawal and the transformation of a weak position into strength. Line 5 of timing. And so we're seeing that in order to gain focused awareness into the differentiated perspective this person has, they need to be able to retreat into their own space. And in doing so, they will be able to collect themselves in a way that can be communicated to other people. And so this focus opens up into the personality Mars right here. From the moon into the Mars, we have the mutation of the individual. And this is part of their definition. This is gate 52. This is keeping still the mountain. In the 5th line of explanation. So this is a temporary and self-imposed inaction for the benefit of assessment. So we're seeing a natural resonance here, not only in the basic descriptions of what these sound like, the ability to impose inaction upon oneself and find benefit from assessment, from thinking about things, from considering the differences and the pros and cons. And the entire opening point is this moon, this focus of retreat, this ability to go back into oneself and then to find stillness. So by focusing in on oneself and retreating from the world, there is this capacity to bring in a mutation around stillness, a mutation around the capacity for, in this fifth line, explanation. This is in times of inaction, the often important ability to explain one's position. And so here we see that they have this second color for both fifth lines. And so there's a deep natural resonance between these two. We have a person who can retreat, and then within themselves they can gather up an explanation, and that explanation can have mutative capacities in the world around them and with other people. And so the next thing I like to look at is the Saturn, this personality Saturn in the bottom left here. This forms the constraint of the individual. And so in the differentiating process, by honoring this constraint, we can actually stabilize the mutation of our focus. And so the constraint here is that of gate 26 in the second line. This is taming of the great, the maximization of the power of memory applied to the nurturing of continuity. The lessons of history is the second line. So we have the ability to use our memory to remember the lessons of history and hopefully learn and grow from them, and not just repeat the same mistakes over and over and over. And so if this person is able to learn from the mistakes, not just from themselves, but from history as a whole, from what they've seen, what they've witnessed, if they're able to learn from these mistakes, then they'll find that they can stabilize this mutation of stillness and the focus of retreat, and finding this explanation that can make sense to other people. And next up is the personality Uranus. This is right here, gate 11 in the third line. This is the gate of peace. This is a harmonic condition within the individual or a society, which permits assessment before renewed action. Line 3, the realist, the acknowledgement that peace is transitory. And so here again, we're seeing this assessment before action theme showing up. And so this personality Uranus is part of the person's unique differentiated life path and their life track. I'll call this the side track because it's your unique personal track. And so this is a track of peace, and it's the line of the realism. So here we see that peace is transitory, or peace is temporary. And yet, despite that, we can still find within ourselves the retreat to contemplate and to find this place of stillness. And you'll see how this works into that story. Because last we have here is personality Pluto, gate 44, line and color 1. The personality Pluto represents the truth of this individual, and this 44th gate is called coming to meet. This is the success of any interaction is based on the absence of any preconditions. And so this doesn't mean that we're coming in with conditions. However, when we look at line 1, we see the keynote of conditions, the establishment of frameworks as the result of interaction. So you might see something fascinating about this gate in and of itself, and the foundation of this gate, gate 44, coming to meet. The success of any interaction is based on the absence of preconditions, and yet the foundation is the conditions itself. And so there is this capacity to build up frameworks that can form as conditions for interactions that are successful. This 44 is this gate of fear over extinction, not just of an individual, but extinction of the entire species. And so what we're seeing here in this personality Pluto, this truth of coming to meet, is that by this person retreating into their focus, they can find stillness to explain things by honoring the messages and the lessons of the past, they can grow from them and stabilize their stillness in a way that can be explained for the benefit of other people, because this path of life is one of peace and finding the peace in the moments where it can be found and renewing assessment again in that retreat. And ultimately coming to meet with other people, being able to unite with other people in a beautiful way that can bring about this idealistic peace in Gate 11, and it can bring about a mutation of stillness and explanation. It can bring an influence into people's lives, people who come under these conditions of this 44, and they willingly accept them. They might find that they have a better way of explaining things because we have a new mutation of explanation coming through this 52. And so that's a little story about the differentiating path of this individual. However, there is more to it. For you see, there are 4 planets I did not mention at all. We have Mercury at the top. We have Venus on the left. We have Neptune on the right. And Jupiter on the bottom. So this Mercury, well, this Mercury is about communication. And so what I'm communicating about here is this diamond. I call this the stable, homogenized diamond. And so essentially these activations are less about the individual's differentiating path along these diagonal rows, well, these diagonal lines, but rather the diamond here, this is a different type of structure, and it forms a sort of stability amongst people and a stability amongst the individual. And so the beginning of this is for the 52, the communication. For you see, this stability comes out of communication, and that communication is Gate 52. We're back to keeping still. We're back to the mountain. And this is in line 1, however, rather than line 5. And so the basic communication from this person is the capacity to think before you speak. And this comes first from demonstration, for oneself to consider before communicating, and in doing so they can hold together the stability of their world. The 23 here, the splitting apart, this is in the personality Venus. The personality Venus has to do with the values of a certain person and the values of their stability in the world in relationship to other people. And so this 23 is the gate of splitting apart. Amorality, the awareness and understanding which leads to the acceptance of diversity. And so to me that one was very profound. This idea that amorality, not being moralistic, not non-moral, is part of the awareness and understanding which leads to the acceptance of diversity. And so being able to accept diversity is a strength in this person, and it's something that they value. And being that it's in the line 1, this line is called the proselytization, which is about the attempt to undermine one set of values for another. So the values of this person have to do with bringing other people to their own set of conditions to follow, because the explanation is mutative and it's powerful and it can catch on. And it's all about the acceptance of diversity here. This is the important value of this person that can resonate and connect to other people. The acceptance of diversity. And personality Jupiter here, this represents the rules of a person, as opposed to Saturn, which is the constraints of a differentiating path, the constraint of the difference, what the different is held back by, the limiting factor for that. Whereas for the stability, for this diamond, it's different. There are rules. And the rules here are of Gate 42, this gate of increase. This is the expansion of the resources, which maximizes the development of full potential. Line 1, diversification. And so for this person, being able to honor their nature of diversifying with whatever they're doing, not putting all their eggs into one basket, but being able to have a little over here, a little over there, a little over here, that is the natural capacity for this person to bring about an increase in things, in the nature of their experience. And so lastly, we have the personality Neptune here. Now this one is very fascinating for me because the personality Neptune is where the misinformation comes from. And this is what really kind of glues this stuff together. For you see, we have the communication of the Mercury, we have the values of the Venus, the rules of Saturn, and we have the misinformation of Neptune. For Neptune is veiling things and obfuscating things to where you can't really see it quite so much. And in this case, on the personality, it's misinformation. So that might mean other people are giving misinformation, and you don't really want to pay attention to it. And so this is gate 58, the joyous, in the fourth line, the line of focusing on stimulation as the key to joy. And so for this person, they might find that people in their life have drama, they have misinformation to say around the way in which the individual here actually stimulates themselves. However, finding your joy is a natural thing in life, and you will be able to focus in on what that is. So honor your ability to focus in on that, and don't allow other people's words around your joy to be controlling of you, for they will speak ill and incorrectly about you, and you have to allow them their own perspective. It doesn't have to align with yours. So there's a story that goes over all of these activations here, and the funniest thing about it is how little it actually matters or makes any difference at all when the person is not following their type strategy and inner authority. And so this person is a generator. They're here to respond to life. They have a gut response here in the sacral to life, and there's no emotional definition here. So there is not a lack of truth in the sense that they might have a little bit of emotionality in this 55, but if they can trust that the emotions don't really belong to them and that they have to trust their initial response, they can find that that 55 can open up to a deeper abundance than even its ordinary preconceived notions of what abundance is all about. And so that story I was just telling about all these activations about this person who can retreat into themselves and concentrate and focus into an idea that can be explained to other people about diversifying and expanding their growth and honoring diversity and finding peace even though we know it's temporary. All of that means nothing whatsoever if they're not living out their response system, because these are all advanced, nuanced details. And you might see a little bit showing up, like say in the 9 and the 16, you might see this person being enthusiastic about things or excited to try something out and really kind of focused in on something, whatever that something is. However, if these open centers are allowed to rule the life, then what they're doing is they're avoiding confrontation and truth, number one. They are avoiding the truth, they are avoiding confrontation, and while doing that, they're looking for love outside of themselves. They're looking for somebody else to give them a sense of direction in life. And in order to find that person, in order to avoid conflict with that person, they will pretend to be certain about things, and they will also pretend to be certain about things that don't matter. This head center makes it so that things that don't matter seem important, and the open ajna pretends to be certain about things. So it's like, no, I'm sure about this. I'm not a fool. And I'm certain about this because I love you, and the thing is, I don't want to get into an argument with you. I don't want us to argue, so no matter what, we're going to avoid this stuff. And I'm sure it's okay. I'm sure it's great. Because this defined ego can communicate. This 2644 is a design of surrender, a design of transmission. This is communicating things to people that can really hit into their immune system and hit into their deepest cores of awareness. And so yeah, there's this beautiful story here in this person, in this chart, and everything that can happen to an individual. But if there is no strategy and authority, if this person is initiating things, then all of these details won't be possible. They won't be able to activate or align and harmonize together because the person is too busy living a life that somebody else might be, that somebody else might prefer, that might work for somebody else, but not for them. It's only out of trusting that response in the moment, what comes out of their voice, because the voice is defined, connected to the ego, and the root, and the sacral. There's a very powerful splenic awareness here that's very strong in instinct and intuition. And trusting that first response is the key to life. It's what allows this whole thing to activate, this whole thing to open up. And so, yeah, there's a little nugget of human design reading for you. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below, and I'll try and respond. If you'd like to experience one of these micro readings, you could send me an email and I'll put you on the list. I'll get to them when I have the time to. If you really prefer to dive deep into this knowledge, I am available for private sessions on this where you can ask me questions and we can dive into all these minute details together about yourself. And truly for me, this is around long-term support, not just a single reading. However, I'm here to share and I really enjoy this stuff. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. Peace.